Welcome to Spiritual Psychology. My name's Renee LaValle McKenna, and I bring my 30-plus years as a recovering addict and ex-crazy person turned therapist and shamanic healer to bring you snackable teachings on spirituality, psychology, and all things personal growth. And today I want to talk about the principles of honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. And although most of us don't like to think of ourselves as closed-minded, dishonest, or resistant, it's my experience that those qualities exist in all of us. And confronting them, rooting them out, and cultivating these more nourishing, but also more challenging principles of truth or honesty, the enthusiasm, or at least the compliance, to put effort into things, even if we don't know or understand what the outcome will be, which is willingness, and being clear, accessible, or receptive, which is the essence of open-mindedness. I was first introduced to these principles through 12-step recovery at a time when I was really looking for radical change in my life. Well, I don't know if it was looking for it, but it was certainly necessary. In fact, I was told that what I needed to do was simple. I needed to change everything. Simple, but not easy. And perhaps the biggest transformation was the shift from trying to change the outside of my life to trying to change the inside of my life. To move from material values to spiritual principles. And that honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness were the most valuable tools I could carry. They were like points on a triangle, the triangle being the strongest geometric shape. That I had been trying for years to find the right job, lose the right amount of weight, get the right relationship. And if I had the outside all set up, then the inside would be okay, right? It didn't work that way. In fact, it was through these principles and a whole bunch of other tools and principles I've gathered along the way that I've come to discover that the opposite of what our culture tells us is true. That fixing the outside does not fix the inside. That driving a fancy car, having a title after my name, or drinking the right kind of wine or beer does not make me happy. For me, it got me drunk, crashed the car, and into bankruptcy court. I'm kind of an extreme person, and for me it was through actually losing those things more than once that I've come to realize that life is an experience, or rather a long and hopefully very interesting and engaging series of experiences, and that the cash and prizes are elusive and impermanent, and the finish line is death. And I'm not in a hurry to win that race. That deeply living each experience, learning the lessons it brings, making progress on that path to be the best version of myself I can be, that's the path to the joy and the fulfillment that most of us really seek. I don't believe in mistakes. Because although I've had many of what I used to call mistakes, each of them has led me to the next place in my life. And where I sit now, I wouldn't trade any of it. I trust these spiritual principles of honesty, willingness, and open-mindedness to move me forward. Much of my life, I was motivated by pain, and pain is a great motivator. In fact, that is its purpose. Suffering will push us like nothing else will to move, to grow, and to change. And life is movement. Everything is in motion, from the electrons, protons, and neutrons in an atom, to the metabolism in our cells, moons and planets, orbiting stars, and the whole cosmos in some intelligent design of infinitely complex interactive movement that is way beyond our capacity to understand. But we're supposed to be moving. In fact, resistance is one of the major sources of pain in our life. And where honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness can bring us forward and keep us moving on our own evolutionary developmental path, fear, ego, resistance oppose the life force. And that friction keeps us stuck and is a major source of our suffering. And we all have these things. As an active addict and alcoholic, I was a liar, a cheat, and a thief. I had no problem telling anybody what I thought they wanted to hear if it would get me out of trouble or get me what I wanted. Lies and stories just rolled off my tongue. I cheated on many boyfriends and slept with more than one guy who was married to somebody else. And at the end of my addiction, stealing had become a way of life. And for a long time, I thought I was getting away with something, that the rules didn't apply to me. And I still have a fairly ambivalent relationship with human rules, although I understand the need for law and structure. There's a deeper set of principles, these spiritual principles, and there's no way to get around those. That my dishonesty pointed to the fact that I didn't trust that who I was good enough. That my own deepest truth was somehow tied to the highest good for myself and everyone involved. Inconvenient as it might be sometimes. That my needs, desires, and dreams are attached to my true self. And that my work here as a human is to be me, the most authentic me I can be. It certainly wasn't the message growing up in my house, but there wasn't a lot of wisdom in that place from people who had also been taught that who they really were was not good enough. And that coming up with the right answer or what other people expected was the best we could hope for. And the truth really does set us free, but it will make us grow first. And over and over and over, I have come to the truth and been willing to accept it within myself and speak it to others and then come to act on it, because living how I thought I should be, according to my family, my peers, my religion, my belief structure, brought me to such a point of misery that I had no choice. And over and over and over, when I have come to be with the truth, it has changed my life in unimaginably creative and positive ways. Now, that doesn't mean it wasn't hard and pushed me right to the edge of everything I had. But there's this fabulous quote: when we come to the edge of all the light we know and are about to step into the darkness of the unknown, one of two things will happen. We will be given something solid to stand on, or we will grow wings to fly. Because we live in an interactive universe. We are part of this thing. And the larger consciousness system wants us to participate fully and authentically. Because the larger system benefits when we are operating at full capacity, happy, fulfilled, and free. So the honesty part generally comes first. And because our feelings are connected with our true self, it is often our feelings that let us know what is really true. More than once, I've been in a relationship with a really nice guy and was desperately unhappy. And I hated myself for being unhappy because I thought I should be happy. What was wrong with me? This is a perfectly good relationship. So inconvenient, excruciating, disappointing. And yet, when I eventually left or was forced out, I generally see that I had learned everything I could learn and that moving into a new place was actually better for everybody involved. Now, frequently, being honest is about looking at what's not working, but the truth has also called me to stretch myself, pushed me to go to graduate school after cleaning houses for a decade. The universe is constantly growing and emerging, creating brand new things. Most people are aware of global warming, and it's interesting to notice that the Earth is a living entity, that there have been many extreme climate experiences on the Earth, ice ages, temperate times, and over, nature has created new species that have adapted and evolved out of these extremes. I'm not going to get into political discussion about global warming. But we do not have the capacity to kill the life force. And those creative, emergent properties of growth, expansion, and evolution are available to us as individuals in all areas of our life. And the more we align ourselves with and participate with the life force, the smoother and more enjoyable our life experience will be. But we need to be open-minded to this infinitely creative, generative force. Because true creativity is about something emerging which has not existed before. So we can't actually know where we're going because it hasn't been created yet. one of my early spiritual advisors, said, "I think God takes it one day at a time." I loved that idea. And being open-minded requires us to go into the unknown, to step out of the light of what's familiar, but the light comes with us as we step. It's like carrying a flashlight, and we don't have to go alone. Letting go of my fears, past experience I'm projecting into the future. Maybe something completely new will happen. In fact, it usually does. And open-mindedness is really challenging, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, intellectually. The ego likes to think it knows everything. There's some safety in that, but that is also that place of stuckness. Like Jesus said, we should be like little children, curious, receptive, enthusiastically approaching all things as if they are new. And this requires willingness. And we do have free will as humans in where we put our energy, our intentions, and our actions. And again, aligning my will with the life force is the fast track, really, for all things good. In fact, pretty much the only prayer I say is, "Show me your will for me and grant me the power to carry it out." Now, who or what the "your" is a source for a whole bunch of other podcasts. But these principles, honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness, that triangle is incredibly strong, and they support each other. Open-mindedness can help us be more honest. Experiencing the positive feedback loop that honesty creates can make us more willing, empowering us to propel ourselves forward with these three really reliable sources of guidance, inspiration, information, and power. So I encourage you to consider your feelings. Where are they pointing to truth that wants to pull you forward? Seek out your own resistance, and where you can grow in open-mindedness, release judgment, preconceived ideas, and align your own will with universal will, which I promise you has only your highest good in mind. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to find out how spiritual psychology might benefit you in your life, shoot me an email, info@reneemckenna.com. I can also tell you more about my mentorship program. Would love it if you'd leave a good review on iTunes. And you can get a free download of the first chapters of my book, Allies and Demons, Working with Spirit for Power and Healing. There's a link in the show notes. Blessings on your path until we meet again. This is Renee LaValle McKenna for Spiritual Psychology.